So given that we have spoke quite a lot about some of the barriers to adoption and some of the issues with resistance to change and imposing of ways of working on teams who haven't had the opportunity to help shape that together, or don't understand why we're having to adopt a certain way of working if it hasn't been contextualized as a way to address a challenge or solve a problem. Given that, in terms of retrospectives, of course, if you're using Sprint, you'll be doing a Sprint retro. But I have found that the kind of quarterly retros or at a timely juncture where you might have a large release, for example, they're very, very valuable, and teams aren't necessarily overjoyed about doing them, because I think, having space perhaps to feel safe to say, I don't think this went well. Having space to challenge or not feel like it's a maybe finger-pointing exercise might be reasons why people don't want to get involved in retrospectives. And I've also found them being organised without key people. Why is there no one from QA in this retro, for example? In terms of your experience, what are your thoughts around the importance of retrospectives or how they're run?
I think, Rebecca, it's one of the most important ceremonies that a team can have. Okay, so I think for various reasons, I think the first thing behind a retrospective is to make sure that there's a safe space and the team has that safety to voice their opinion, right? And for the team's understanding that anything said in those sessions are purely for the sake of improvement, right? And I think that's how one should start a retrospective, to make sure that they have that safe space to share the information. Okay, so that's the first thing I definitely see within retrospectives. Maybe if it's not happening effectively, the first question that an agile coach or scrum master or product owner needs to ask is, does my team have this, right? And try and push for that and try and create a way and make sure that that message is reiterated going forward. Okay, the second thing that I see and what you mentioned is definitely everyone who's part of the team, and potentially some, if they don't feel that stakeholders should be there, it's fine. But everyone who's part of the delivery aspects within that team, who's responsible for picking up tickets, who's responsible for doing the daily work, should be part of that session. Regardless of your discipline or which chapter you belong, you should be part of it, right? I keep telling my QA engineers, that is your golden ticket, retrospectives. That is the space where if you have any sort of like complaints or certain challenges that you're facing, you word it in a way so that the team knows that you're suggesting an improvement or you're highlighting an area that's a constant pain. For example, we're getting tickets that are coming in assigned to QA right at the end of a sprint, and all of them coming at a barrage, and you just have to do how can we fix that problem? Do we limit work in progress to make sure that things are happening faster and we're not creating the bottleneck at the end? Those type of discussions should come to light. And I also tell them this is where we bring in the QA metrics of what happened in the last sprint, for example, right? Where were the most defects found? Why were they found? How can we improve as a team, right? And that is your golden mic time to speak, and I make sure that they voice their opinions in that session and not just be, passive sort of audience members and just listen to what the agile coach is saying. And then that's it. And you come to the next sprint retro and the same thing happens, right? Without any actions, without things happening. So definitely that. And behind everything, there should be root causes mentioned of any issues that were there, whether that root causes exist with people outside of the team, that someone needs to take ownership to drive to fix, right? And I found a lot of action points is really, really valuable after a session, during the session, to mention those action points, and then have like almost an estimated time, or have a follow-up in the next retro. What was the outcome of that action? You were supposed to follow up with it. What has happened? Do we have a general timeline of when we can expect that to be fully resolved, so that it doesn't become a pain? So, for example, we're missing a test environment. We need to go to an infrastructure team to set that up for us, right? When is the time? It's constantly affecting our delivery to make sure that we make our sprints, right? So there will be a timeline. Someone could follow up, and then we basically start improving as a team. We should, in a space of whatever that space is, 3 months, a year, 2 years, for example, see improvements. We shouldn't, if we're coming to a retro 2 years later and you have the same problems, the team hasn't done a great job to remove those pain points, right? So I think that's how I see retros. I would say it's one of the most important sessions that a team should be having, yeah?
Yeah, and I think even in 2 months, if things haven't moved on, it's important that those action points are duly assigned to the right individuals who can, address them and action them in the most meaningful way. And I'm, really happy about the point that you said regarding metrics and bringing in provable data, because if things could get contentious, if it's been a very stressful project, for example, or release or whatever, having metrics to back it up, again, having that data, the impartiality of data, is very useful, I think, to just lay it out in black and white, so that we can all get behind something that is meaningful.
100%. Fully agree with you there, Rebecca.
Check out my other videos, where we delve into our professional history and discuss subjects such as maturing agility across teams and the importance of networking for personal development. Thank you for watching.